little wizard spell that went wrong. Once upon a time in a faraway land, there was a little wizard named Timmy. Timmy was a very, very little wizard. In fact, he was the littlest wizard in his wizarding school. But what Timmy lacked in height, he made up for in enthusiasm. He loved everything about being a wizard, waving his magic wand, brewing potions, and most of all, reading spell books. Now, Timmy's biggest dream was to perform a really big, impressive spell. He wanted to be known throughout the land as a great wizard. But unfortunately, all of the big spells required lots of practice and a lot of magical power, which Timmy didn't have very much of. All the spells that he knew were small ones, like making socks disappear or turning teacups into turtles. One day while practicing his spells in the school library, Timmy came across an old, dusty book in the forbidden section. It was filled with spells that were much more powerful than any he had ever seen before. As he flipped through the pages, his eyes landed on a spell called Giganto, grow everything at once. The spell was written in a language that was very flowery and dramatic, but Timmy, being a little wizard with a lot of enthusiasm, understood it perfectly. He just couldn't wait to try it out. Now, this spell was extremely dangerous, even for a powerful wizard. It said that in order to grow things really big, you needed to focus on something small. Then you wave your wand, give a little shout, and whatever you are focusing on will grow very fast. Timmy thought to himself, what could be smaller than a fly? So he focused all of his attention on an annoying fly that was buzzing around the library. He raised his wand and shouted Giganto, but instead of the fly growing bigger, Timmy accidentally turned the tip of his wand into a giant lizard. The lizard grew so big that it knocked over a stack of books and sent them flying. One of the books hit a nearby cauldron and sent the potion inside splashing onto the floor. Now, potions were tricky. You never really knew what would happen when you mixed different ingredients together. And this one was no exception. The potion sizzled and smoked, then started to spread all over the library floor. It grew and grew until it formed a giant sticky blob that started to engulf the room. Timmy was scared, but he knew that he had to do something to stop that giant blob of doom from spreading any further. So he took a deep breath, raised his wand and shouted, "Tiny, make everything small." The spell worked a little too well. The walls and furniture shrank until they were the size of a mouse. Timmy was now a tiny wizard in a giant library. Just then, a giant mouse wearing glasses and a pointy hat appeared. He introduced himself as the librarian and explained that whenever someone messed up a spell in the library, he had to drink a special shrinking potion so he could fix it. But drinking too much of that potion turned him into a giant mouse. Now, Timmy felt really bad because it was all his fault that the librarian was stuck like this. So he promised to help him break the curse by finding the antidote in the back of that big, heavy book. Timmy climbed onto a shelf to get the book, but it was too heavy for him to move. Just then, a friendly spider crawled by and offered to help him. Spiders were actually very strong, so together they were able to push the book open and find the antidote. It was a very bitter potion, but it would reverse the shrinking spell. So Timmy quickly took it to the giant mouse. The antidote worked right away. The giant mouse became a normal-sized man and everything returned to normal. As a reward for being such a helpful little wizard, the librarian let Timmy borrow that big book of spells for just one night. And that's how our little hero got the opportunity to practice his magic on some very unsuspecting woodland creatures. The end.